Tamara Samsonova is an older, innocent-looking Russian woman, also known as Granny Ripper. Why she got this nickname, and why she clapped her hands in joy like a little child when arrested, will be revealed in today's video. Tamara was born on February 5, 1947, in Uzur, Russia. She had a normal childhood and grew up in a sheltered environment. After successfully completing her high school diploma, she moved to Moscow to attend the State Linguistic University. After graduating, she relocated to St. Petersburg. There, she met Alexei Samsonov shortly after her arrival. The two fell in love and got married a short time later. At the wedding, Tamara took his last name. In 1971, they moved into a newly built house on Dimitrov Street 4. Tamara worked for many years in a travel agency and at the Grand Hotel Europe until her husband Alexei suddenly disappeared without a trace in the year 2000. Tamara immediately reported him missing and seemed deeply distraught over his disappearance. However, the police could neither find him nor any remains. A house search also yielded no results. After her husband's disappearance, Tamara struggled financially to keep the house. The resilient retiree began renting out one of the rooms. She was a very strict landlord, tolerating no noise. If she ever heard anything from her tenants, she would scold them and threaten to evict them. Tamara rented out the room for more than 10 years. During this time, she had several tenants, all of whom were single. It is now known that on September 6, 2003, she had an argument with one of her tenants. The result of this argument was his murder and dismemberment. The 44-year-old man from Norris had disturbed her because he repeatedly made noise in his room. Tamara disposed of his remains in plastic bags on the street. Why no one noticed this remains unclear, and so she escaped legal consequences. The bags were never examined. Over 10 years later, in March 2015, Tamara is now 68 years old. One day, she encountered her 79-year-old neighbor, Valentina Ulanova, on the street. The two women had little to do with each other, although they lived on the same street. A mutual friend acted as a mediator, as Tamara's house was undergoing renovations. Tamara asked Valentina if she could temporarily stay with her. In exchange, she offered to help with household chores. Valentina agreed, and a few days later, Tamara moved in with her essentials. However, Tamara had no intention of returning to her house. Even after the renovations were long finished, she continued living with Valentina. Initially, Valentina appreciated Tamara's help, but over time, she wanted her house back for herself. Tamara started neglecting housework and only did the bare minimum after repeated reminders. Their friendship deteriorated, and Valentina eventually demanded that Tamara move out. The first few days, Tamara seemed to accept it. A few days later, another argument ensued, this time over dirty dishes. Tamara then decided to poison Valentina. She traveled to Pushkin, where she managed to convince a pharmacist to sell her a prescription drug, Phenazepam. Phenazepam is a medication for treating epilepsy, sleep, or anxiety disorders. In high doses, deadly. Afterward, Tamara bought a refreshing Olivier salad in the city, Valentina's favorite dish. This Russian dish consists of potatoes, sausage, and egg. Back home, she mixed the tablets into the Olivier salad and gave it to Valentina. During the night of July the 22nd to 23rd, Tamara stood up and found Valentina dead on the kitchen floor after eating the salad. In the next hours, Tamara dismembered the body with the help of 2 kitchen knives and a little saw. First, she sawed off her head. Then, she dismembered the body in 2 equal halves. Then, she cut the 2 halves into smaller pieces using knives and disposed of the remains in plastic bags around the area. Tamara carefully packed these pieces into garbage bags, took them outside the same night, and placed them in and around a pond on the street. This required her to make multiple trips back and forth. Once again, she was fortunate that no one saw her. A few pieces were left behind in the house. By the evening of July 26th, local residents began to wonder what might be inside the black bags near the pond. One of them decided to investigate. When he discovered body parts wrapped in a shower curtain, he immediately alerted the police. Just a day later, investigators were able to identify the dismembered body. They knocked on Valentina's door, and Tamara answered. Without resisting, she allowed the police to search the house. Inside, they found clear traces of blood and the fastening for the torn shower curtain. The evidence was so compelling that they arrested Tamara on the spot. Shortly afterwards, surveillance footage from Dimitrov Street was found. It showed Tamara carrying the black bags to the pond. Additionally, there were recordings of her carrying a cooking pot that contained Valentina's head. Before we move on to the final section, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. We're a small team dedicated to bringing you thoroughly researched and carefully prepared stories. Now, let's continue with the video. Two days later, on July 29, 2015, Tamara was first presented before the Kunz District Court in St. Petersburg. Throughout the entire interrogation, Tamara remained calm and composed. She described her crime in detail. The court subsequently ordered her incarceration and an additional forensic psychiatric examination. When the examination took place sometime later, it quickly became clear that Tamara posed a danger to herself and others. As a result, she was transferred to a specialized facility in November 2015. It also came to light that Tamara had already been in a psychiatric hospital 3 times in the past and had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Tamara was ultimately charged with 15 murders. Now, one may wonder how the prosecution arrived at 15 murders when only 1 body was found. This is because investigators discovered a diary in Tamara's apartment in which she detailed and processed these 15 murders. Tamara wrote alternately in Russian, English, and German. She described 11 of the murders in particular detail, stating that she had removed the victim's lungs and eaten them. Here is a short excerpt from her diary. I killed my tenant, Anatoly. I cut him into small pieces with a knife in the bathroom, put the body parts in plastic bags, and distributed them all over the district. Also among the murder victims was her husband. She had reported him as missing and played the concerned wife, even though she knew exactly what had happened to him. Tamara also wrote that she had been at the police station in March 2015 to inform them of what really happened to her husband. Whether she actually made a statement and why she was not arrested afterward is unclear. During her trial, Tamara Samsonova appeared cheerful. She was happy and blew air kisses to the press repeatedly. In her statement, she added, I did it to be known as a serial killer. It was all intentional. I've been preparing for this day for 10 years. I am a very old person and can't live anywhere now. That's why I decided I must go to prison. I will die there and the state will probably bury me. It's such a shame. The whole city will find out what I've done. I am guilty and deserve punishment. When the judge pronounced the verdict and it became clear that Tamara would remain in custody, she clapped her hands in joy and laughed. An investigator later said, she's either much smarter or much dumber than we think. He suspected that Tamara deliberately committed her last murder in such a sloppy way to finally get arrested. However, the police are still unsure about some points. For example, Valentina's head was never found. Tamara's diary also provides no clues about this. However, it is said that there are some further brutal details about her crimes in her diary. More specific information, however, is being kept confidential by the police until the investigation into Tamara's case is concluded. Officially, Tamara has only confessed to the murder of Valentina and 3 other people. However, her diary suggests that there may be at least 10 other murders attributed to her. For example, her mother-in-law was reported missing several years ago, and like her husband, was never seen again. Whether Tamara has anything to do with her disappearance is still under investigation. In December 2015, Tamara was transferred indefinitely to a psychiatric hospital in Kazan, where she will likely remain in secure custody for the rest of her life. Feel free to share your thoughts on the video in the comments. See you at the next one.